So what is Interspecies Reviewers and why was it canceled?
Oh boy.
You're watching / listening to the Clash KO podcast.
This is the show where we talk about why anime sparks so much passion among its fans.
I'm Colton Cruz.
Brianna Marshall.
Wyatt Garland.
Like what you hear, like what you see. Subscribe to YouTube or your podcast platform of your choice so you don't miss out on a knockout discussion.
So this past week-ish, an anime known as Interspecies Reviewers was basically pulled off Amazon, pulled off Funimation, pulled off
everywhere.
Everywhere it exists. It's for all intents and purposes, they've made more episodes, but like they've been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so just very quickly, what this anime was about was it's like a fantasy setting where there's like party members.
Thought it was like isekai a little bit.
It's not isekai. It is like within a fantasy world, and the idea is there's like a human, an elf, an angel, and a couple other basically you're like fantasy species,
right?
And they're going to brothels and having sex with all the different other fantasy species and reviewing them, basically
giving
That's
the experience.
Yeah,
various notes.
And it's very explicit with its sex in this show.
Here's my thing. I love Funimation. I love anime. But I just love that no one really thought to do the research and be like, could we consider this anime? Because it clearly looks like a hentai.
Right.
But I love that now we can't tell what is anime or what is hentai anymore.
I think
it's 2020. We can't tell the difference between anime and hentai.
I don't know. I've always thought of anime as the super category, and then hentai as a type of anime.
Absolutely.
Kind of like all toads being frogs, but not all frogs being toads. Like
I understand that.
I get that.
The thing that I don't seem to understand again is it's the awareness, right? It doesn't take a very more than like one or two looks at this, you're like, oh, that's a hentai, and then you hear the plot, and you're like, well, that's a hentai plot.
Yeah.
Like you're not no one.
But isekai and fantasy is so in an anime.
Okay, here's my thing, which I'm just so surprised. It's like I take one good look, and there are some characters with some massive tickle bitties,
that
and I'm
is
just like,
in every hot anime right now. I would say every like popular anime right now has that.
Okay, so there's some that's just like, all right, this girl has some big, but these, I don't know if they were cowgirls or something, but
Yes,
they were
right.
just ginormous,
They were
and I'm like,
minotaurs, okay?
I just looked at it, I was like, that ain't anime.
Well,
that ain't anime.
Exactly. It speaks to like we have basic experience. We've been on the internet and we've been around anime long enough to be like, oh, well, no one would draw that way unless they were trying to talk about that. And that's just so obvious. It's like nomenclature. And then you know what's funny? We're kind of desensitized because we'll look at a regular anime and other people will be like, oh, well, that's obviously sexual. And we're like, oh, no,
that's just Ichi. It's fine.
That's just the busty character.
Well, look at everything from shows that are literally titled How to Pick Up Girls at a Dungeon to How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, how sexualized those shows are. And those get away with it. Those are anime.
That was Borderland Ichi, but...
Oh, yeah, that was hardcore Ichi. But yeah, what is the difference? And I think we've definitely found it. The line
it's just, again, there are some scenes where they are like full on just having intercourse and they show it in the anime. Now, please tell me in the comments down below, let me know which anime you've seen where they're just full on boning. You see it. Like,
I don't know, though. Would you consider Game of Thrones porn? It's the pinnacle of television for like our era.
See, that's
the
thing is.
And there's explicit sex in that.
But see, Game of Thrones is rated M. Most anime is TV-14. You have little Johnny sitting right next to you and be like, hey, little Johnny, I'm about to teach you the bird and bees. Clicks on anime.
Oh, I see. But here's the thing.
So that's what you're afraid of.
The ratings.
And I think that's why it makes sense for something like Amazon to pull it off, right? Is because that's their, like we talked about with the Witcher anime podcast, you cannot risk having, the kids go on Prime Video and they watch their anime, and then mom walks in on them watching Interspecies Reviewers, and it's like, oh, we're not going to do anime anymore, Johnny.
The whole thing gets burnt out. No.
I appreciate that, yeah.
I have nothing against hentai. I actually love hentai, but it's just, we're at this day and age where it's like, when we go to conventions, and there are a lot of parents who are just like what we were talking about with My Hero Academia, it's like your mom can walk in and there's nothing, there's no problems whatsoever. But then you see your child who is like 7 or 8 walk in and see something like this.
Right.
That could affect anime viewers
and talking
in the future.
about that, I think that's one of the most interesting things too. We didn't bring it up, but this is an anime that also got an English dub.
Right.
before anybody realized
Yeah.
that they
No,
weren't
it
going to
was-
support this on their streaming
It
service.
was clearly a avalanche, right? I think this really speaks to the system, right? Where it's just like these things are lined up. Okay, we got this manga. It's popular. We see these numbers.
It's got
we see these
fantasy. It's got big
algorithms.
titties.
Okay,
Like that's
everyone's
normal
going
for
it.
what we do, right?
Let's just keep the motions going. Oh, there's these scenes, and it's so funny. No one even watched, like, because it's not like this was coming out week by week or anything.
No, it was, yeah.
But
And it's based on a manga.
there's evidence. What I'm saying is there was an ability to look forward a little bit and
So
to
you're
like.
saying no
what
one,
this
no one
was.
did their homework and they were able to look
Right.
at.
There was foresight, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
just impressed that we're at a point in 2020 where the machine is that tight where it's like, oh, it'll be
Something
fine.
like this just gets
Yeah,
churned
it
through.
just gets churned out. I mean, like,
So-
what do you do? Like, I'm just surprised that there are people dubbing something that didn't, I don't know, call the person who made it or like
Right, yeah.
research the person who made
Well,
it or read
and
them
that
out.
extra American or English budget got spent, right?
Right.
Like it's not like it got shipped over here, like the way Netflix just will license an anime. And
Right,
it's just like,
no, no,
yeah,
no.
we just put it up on the platform, like like Funimation didn't just copy paste it onto like the
Right.
English streaming service. They did
Right.
work to produce it as a
Yeah.
show. That said, since it's nowhere like to stream right now,
It
right?
was only just 3 episodes that were kind of released.
Well,
They
there
were
were
just
3
like,
episodes
nope,
released,
we're
but
done.
there are 6 episodes made
Oh, yeah.
because it's still coming out in Japan.
Half the series.
So do you think there's you were saying like, it not coming out like for Johnny and stuff, is there a place right now where you see this anime, like if you think this anime like qualifies as, like entertainment or whatever, where should it live? Like, does it have a place to live yet?
I feel like, because this day and age, literally everything is getting their own streaming platform.
Right.
Like DC has their own streaming platform, Disney has their own streaming
Yeah.
platform. So who knows? Maybe we might get a hentai streaming platform.
Hentai Hub.
Hey!
God, that
Sign
already-
me
that already-
up.
That'll be taken by
that
the time
already
this episode goes up.
No, it already exists. What are you talking about? That's real.
But is there
That's
like a
just the thing.
legit like streaming platform just for hentai? Like
There are hentai categories on most pornography websites, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
Okay.
absolutely.
But-
and then there's also
And there are some, I guess, like specific ones, but they're usually I guess I never think of like what are those like popular ones like Haname.tv. Like I don't know that that's all like on the up and up legally.
Right,
I think
right,
it is
right.
like a
no,
like
it's always been
kiss
that
cartoon or
Yeah,
something
Exactly.
style thing.
It's
yeah.
always one of those things that we would never watch, right? Because those are illegal sites, and we don't go on those illegal sites. So yeah, the official stuff, right? Exactly.
Like
so,
there's no like legal way to there's no legal streaming service for
Yeah.
hentai as
So-
far
Right.
as far as we know.
right, and it is funny because it is.
hashtag justice for hentai.
Justice for hentai, because this reminds me of another anime that got canceled in a similar way, but not for similar reasons. But Keijo, the butt fighting anime.
that one.
That anime didn't get specifically canceled because the anime itself was like too ecchi. It got canceled because the source material and the mangaka was a little too gross.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, this show is getting too successful.
Well, that
we don't
shows-
want to have to adapt what's in the manga, and they
Exactly.
shut it down.
That shows some foresight, some goddamn
Sure,
foresight.
but that show got canceled and never had a home to go to.
Right,
Like,
right. I feel like there's definitely going to be a place because listen, I mean, there's a certain mood and a certain audience for those sort of things, right? And when you're watching an anime, sometimes you don't want it to be about that stuff. And I think there's enough now where you were saying before that anime is just this term that talks about all of it, and then hentai is one of those things, and then ichi is one of those things too. I think what needs to happen is that there should be a streaming platform for ichi stuff, and because there are tons of like anime plots like that butt fighting one,
Yeah,
where
which are
it's just,
great.
like, where it's like funny and it's like, oh, and this is a little sexy, and that's fine because guess what? The whole point of these animations is they're made for an adult audience as well.
See, but I could see that being like really bad for the anime industry too, because think of it on the other hand. We all, as people who watched, anime as children, one of the most compelling things about anime
Was the
is
sex.
it got I don't know the sex particularly, but like we were able to watch more adult content, like kind of on
Younger.
the sly.
Like,
at
let's
a
just
younger
say
age,
this.
yeah.
I love comparing things. It's just like SpongeBob, and then like you can name like a buttload of anime. It was like this is way more mature than
FMA,
just Sponge-
FMA, like
Well,
even,
exactly,
and this
yeah.
is, and this is, I will always remember that. I think I was very young, and it was an FMA episode, and then he's got to like, and this is the first version of Fullmetal Alchemist, and he had to like fight some. he had to basically fight their version of Catwoman, and she kept like being like, "Oh, but I'm a sexy older woman. Like, you can't do anything to me." And he's like, "I can't. I'm like 14 technically. This is weird." And like, so that juxtaposition, that was a unique thing that again can only happen in anime. That's the only sort of like situation where they're gonna animate and express how uncomfortable a younger person would be confronting that. And that's what makes it interesting. But I don't necessarily think that's ecchi, right? That's just an honest experience about sexuality within an anime.
I guess I'm sorry, go on.
No. I feel like there is just I feel like just in the manga, like how they're very comfortable saying, "Oh, this is an icchi," or "Oh, this is like," and like, yeah, when you even How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, it said it was an icchi. Like it wasn't ever like trying to say it wasn't.
Yeah.
I guess when I was comparing to FMA, I was thinking even more just like adult violence and stuff like that.
Okay,
or even as kids, like that was part of it,
yeah,
right?
we're just saying like
as we
mature
were, like,
things.
well,
Like
that's
kid, we were able to watch, but I mean, just saying like. I think what we're seeing here is a little bit of the disparity between, you know, kind of American rating systems for children versus like Japanese rating systems for children.
Because I remember I remember when I was in Japan and I would go to like the convenience store and I would see like literally a little child just reading porn and I'm just like, that's okay for them over here, but again, like for us here
in America, that's a tough sell.
We had to go to Barnes and Noble. They didn't have any good stuff. They wrapped their stuff in plastic.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah, I remember when you had to have. I think I tried to buy like a Berserk like manga. And they were like, no, you have to be 21 and up to like to have been able to buy Berserk manga. And this was in like, you know, obviously like 2010 or something, right? Big anime boomers, but like
this is why I kind of miss being in Japan because I can get it whatever, whenever. But
right, you had the source material in a different system over there. But I remember being in Barnes and Noble, and I literally bought a how to draw book. Like, and it was a big, thick one, and I like the cover illustration, I like the back one. It was like, oh yeah, and I was like, you know what? I do love anime. Let me get a how to draw anime book. But it was wrapped in plastic for some reason, so I had to like ask my parents to get it for me. And my mother looked through it, and I will never forget the visceral reaction. She ripped pages out of it. In the car ride back to the house after buying it. So like there was that. No. I mean, and there was ecchi stuff in there, but I was literally like, Mom, we could just return it. But there was like this anger
can't do it.
where it is this
no, tearing the page was an important part of it for her.
Because it was this visceral reaction. It was like, well, that's clearly porn, and I just bought porn for my kid. And that's exactly what you're talking about with a streaming service, where it's like, great, I let my kids watch streaming services, and great, there's porn on it, and now I'm angry at myself for doing this. And it creates this issue, which I feel would be solved if there was sort of like
their own
separation.
Specific streaming services just for hentai, because I think we were talking about it too. It's like with a lot of animes, like if there are like close into like borderline, like is this ecchi, is this hentai, like censorship, like how much would a company want to like censor an anime, because that takes a lot of work.
And most streaming apps, I mean, I'm not a kid and none of these things were things when we were kids, but I assume most streaming service apps have parental controls of some kind. But not that they get used or anything. I know. But like, I guess like for me the question is like, I feel really like that it's really shitty that like this anime got canceled.
Yeah.
Like for whatever the reason may be, like I'm just kind of like, it was a form of art, and for you to cancel it, like for you to have like bought into it and then canceled it early because you're afraid of these concerns, like to me I feel like it's censorship and I'm anti on it. How do you guys feel about it?
I'm the same way, absolutely. I just think it's a little ridiculous, like no, you put all this money and all this work, but then you really didn't do the research or the homework beforehand.
And that's insulting.
And then you're just like, well, I don't want to get my hands caught red-handed, and then just pull back out of that.
There is a source material for this. There was work put into this. There was clearly an audience. I mean, it's stupid that the machine just sucked it up and then was like, no. Like, that's, again, put it somewhere. Yeah. Or just slap a big old 18+ rating on it.
Yeah, and that's how I feel, right? Like
I'm going to stop you right there. No one takes rating seriously. Like for gaming and nothing.
But legally, I feel like that's the company's only responsibility.
Yeah,
right? They're like, we put a mechanism in place. If you're a parent,
to save their ass, I get it.
Because it like they gave a parent the tool, and I mean personally, at the end of the day, like if you're gonna censor, the only people I think who have any right to censor things are maybe parents. And so then it's the parents' job to work to
Right.
censor their
Right.
kids'
And
media,
that's
maybe. But
and I get that that's becoming more difficult, but like don't censor
but the
content.
tools are there.
Yeah,
so why
yeah.
censor the
So-
content?
and that's always how it is. I mean, you got 12-year-olds on Twitch doing stuff, and it's like, well, they had to say they were 18 to like sign up for an account.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's like that's the liability. As long as the liability is checked, yeah, people are always going to sneak around it, and maybe people who aren't supposed
But
to
just
watch
save
things.
your butts having that rating. Be like,
Yeah.
we told them.
So
but...
I feel like if I was Amazon, I would have really fought hard for the idea that like we have rating systems in place, we have parental controls in place.
Put it
not
on
our,
the
not our
the
job.
beginning
So-
of the
so-
episode. It's just like, here it is.
So what you're-
we did what we did.
So what you're saying is Jeff Bezos is a coward.
Yes.
Like he's a complete coward, and
This
he
is
should've-
nothing new to.
We know this, but
Anyways, guys, yeah, let us know what you guys think about the cancellation of Interspecies Reviewers in the comments below. Let us know if you like the show. Let us know if you miss it being gone. And we will catch you next time.
眠れない